Good evening all. I'm George Shaw and I'm the chairman of the Melbourne to Osaka Double Handed Yacht Race. The next race is going to be 2025, but today is a very special day because 2 years from today we're going to have the main start of the race. Tonight we're going to introduce you to the team of people or representatives of the team of people who are going to be looking after you in the lead up to the race, during the race and the end of the race. But before that, we're going to have some very special interviews. We've got interviews with Lord Mayor Sally Capp, Consul General Shimada, the President of Australian Sailing Alistair Murray, and the Commodore of the Osaka Yacht Club, Keiichi Morimura. Towards the end of this evening, we've got a couple of very special guests who I won't introduce you to now, but there's a surprise coming at the end of these interviews. So without ado, I'm going to ask Lord Mayor Sally Capp to give you a greeting from Melbourne.
Hello everyone, it's Lord Mayor Sally Capp beaming in from Melbourne. We are here to celebrate the official launch of the Melbourne to Osaka Yacht Race 2025. Here at the City of Melbourne, we can't wait to welcome more than 150 teams from across 11 countries and all states of Australia, and to showcase Melbourne to the world. We are a truly marvellous city, modern and multicultural, and we are a city that is easily accessible for international visitors and simple to navigate once you've arrived. We are the nation's capital of events, sports, arts and culture, and there is never a shortage of unmissable moments to be had. But I'm here today to talk about this yacht race, which is set to be one of the great events of our 2025 calendar, and we're thrilled to welcome everyone back to Melbourne. As you may know, it all started in 1987 as a once-off celebration to commemorate the new sister city relationship between Melbourne and Osaka. How wonderful that we're still going all these years later, welcoming 9 races, and the only Australian race that is recognised as a major oceanic sailing event. The Australian Navy will again support the start of the event together with a potential visit from the US Navy. And the City of Melbourne's magnificent Melbourne Marina is getting ready to host a record number of yachts alongside the Sandringham Yacht Club. There is a lot to explore around Docklands. It has a wonderful mix of businesses, activities and things to do, but it does have a rich maritime history that's worth exploring once you're here, from thousands of years as an Aboriginal hunting ground to becoming the busiest port in Australia, a major trade gateway for our city and nation. And you can still spot those early signs of our maritime history: wooden wharves, the goods shed, and the beautiful Almadopal, one of Australia's oldest surviving tall ships. All of this awaits you in Melbourne, and the countdown starts now. We cannot wait to welcome you to magnificent Melbourne and to cheer you on as you set sail. Thank you to everybody involved in continuing this wonderful legacy between our two cities. May you have fair winds and following seas as you gear up for the big event. Thank you.
I'd now like to introduce 2 of the directors of the organising authority, past Commodore of Sandringham Yacht Club, Philip Byrne, and past Commodore of the Ocean Racing Club, Grant Danoon. Grant and Phil, would you come and join me? Good evening, Phil.
Hello, George. How are you?
Thank you for joining the organising authority. I understand you're here under sufferance. Jane told you you had to join me?
Well, she is the one who said you should put back into the sport. And one thing you can do is you can help George with the Osaka race.
Thank you, Jane.
That is a true story.
Yeah. Now, Phil, you've been at Sandringham for a long time. You've been a past Commodore, and you've seen a number of the starts of the race. I think you've been here for every start except 1987.
Yeah, except the first one, yeah. So I haven't been integral to all of them, but I took people out in launches to watch the start and these sorts of things in the early ones. So yeah, I've been involved in all of them bar the first.
But you were very special in 2013 when we changed the whole structure of the race.
Yeah, that was big.
Yeah.
So we had to convert it from something that was really a corporate exercise on behalf of the City of Melbourne, the City of Osaka, into a yachties race, really, was the end result of it. And it had to self-fund. So that was quite a big challenge because a lot of, shall we say, institutional money had been thrown into it prior to that. So it was quite a challenge.
And
but you did most of it. What are you talking about? Don't look at me.
But the other challenge is keeping me under control.
Exactly.
All right, now we're going to turn our attention to the big boy. No, did I say that? No, we'll edit that out. We'll now turn our attention to Grant Tanoon, who again is another very special person in the organising authority. Grant, you were a past competitor.
I was, George, 2018. And the advice I was given is that when you get going in this race at the very start, you're going to be feeling energetic and you've still got to get through Bass Strait. And so don't go putting up your kites and don't go stretching the boat. And you know, go easy because you've got nearly 5,000 nautical miles to go. And of course, we came through the heads and literally put a crack in the hull. And so we actually had to make an emergency dash up to Sydney, have the boat hauled out, took a huge penalty from that. But from my perspective, George, this race is actually made up of two parts from a competitor's point of view. The first part is that there are those that really want to race very hard and prove that they are the ultimate sailors. And then there's that group that are more in that cruiser type category, and they're there to actually say that they can actually go and compete and complete that actual race, and we fit that category. So even though we actually cracked the hull and we had to get hauled out and took a penalty for it, the objective actually was to actually complete the race, and we did that, and you know, I think it's just an incredible experience. The other thing, George, you know, whilst I've got the microphone, if it's okay with you, the things that actually I thoroughly enjoyed about this race is that you actually go through 7 different types of weather patterns. In any race that we do down here or locally, you're normally just going through one or two weather patterns. But here you've got Bass Straits weather, the big highs off New South Wales, before you jump into the trade winds and go further north. Then you hit the doldrums and you're going to get into the waters of around 32 to 34 degrees. The boat's going to get hot. You're hardly going to move. And that's where all the energy that you're going to expel to actually get to the finish line is in. And I can understand why people actually go crazy in the doldrums because of that. And we spent the better part of 2 weeks in the doldrums trying to get out of it. So come and talk to me and I'll give you a full rundown on it. But once you get through the doldrums, you're back in the trade winds on the other side. And of course, then you go further north into the big highs. And then as you come into Osaka Bay, you look around Melbourne and you think we have shipping here now. We have 5 or 6 ships coming straight up behind us. And my co-skipper at that time said, we've got these 5 ships coming up and one was about to run us over. And so she turned the helm over to steer away. And at exactly the same time, that ship steered to with us. And she goes, oh no, and so she steers back. And of course, at the same time, this big ship's also turning back with us. So in the end, I said, just leave it alone. And you sort of get a whole new experience of having to deal with that type of environments, which we just don't see down here. So, for me, if you get the chance to go and do an Osaka race, it's going to change your perspective on sailing. Absolutely amazing. And I just was so enthralled at the work that George and the previous 2018 committee did that, I just wanted to be a part of this one. So thank you for the invite, George.
Thank you, Grant. Now you can see why Grant's on the committee, but there's something also very special about Grant. He created the blue water tracking system, which we'll be using during the race. Thank you, Grant.
Welcome, George.
Thank you, Phil. Now, following the directors, I would like to introduce you to probably the most important person you're going to meet in the whole of this event, and that's our administration manager, Sally Williams. Good evening, Sally.
Good evening.
Now, Sally, you were a previous or past administration manager for the Ocean Racing Club.
That's correct.
And how many ocean races have you administered? If you don't know, I know.
Well, I think 5, and the next one will be my 6th, George.
There's 3 Melbourne to Vanuatu's.
Yes.
And this will be the 3rd Melbourne to Osaka.
Correct.
Now, for those who are not aware, we opened entries this morning for this race. Sally sent out an email to the 300 sailors representing 152 boats in the race, inviting them to enter. Within 15 minutes, we had 6 entries. And you've had a few queries too.
That's correct. That's correct. We've got first online across the entry division.
Okay. Now, Sally, who got the number 1? Who was champing at the bit?
Grant Chipperfield, who currently has a boat called Joker on Tour, which I met everyone would like to cruise to Osaka in, but it was followed up by an email that I'll put the details of my new boat, No Doubt Racier, in next week.
Okay. Now, it's a very, look, I can't help but feel excited. We now have 13 entries. I've just checked the computer. We've got 2 from New Zealand, 1 or 2 from Japan, 3 from Queensland, 5 from New South Wales, 2 Victoria, and a Tasmanian. And I have spoken to 1 from South Australia. So by the end of today, I think on the first day of entries, we'll probably have 20. Sally, you must have done a great job with that email.
Well, there's a few directors to thank who helpfully helped me along the way and get it over the line. So thank you, Grant.
Okay, an entrance. Sally's the one you've got to deal with. She's a little bit of a, no, she's a very good person, I was going to say. But she's a really stickler for compliance. So, Sally, go to it.
Thanks, George. I've lasted 3 races with you, so this one will be the pinnacle.
Yeah.
So good luck
Sally.
to everyone. Thank you.
Our next guest who is going to give you a greeting is someone who has become very special to me over the last couple of years, the Consul General for Japan, Shimada-san.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, George. 皆さん、こんばんは。As the Japanese Consul General for Victoria, I would like to welcome all sailors participating in the 2025 Melbourne to Osaka Double Handed Race, Yacht Race. The Japanese-Australian relationship is a close and strong one, based on our mutual understanding and friendship. It is through events such as the Melbourne to Osaka Yacht Race that people from Japan and Australia can come together to foster and strengthen our bilateral relationship based on at grassroots level and through their common interest, sailing. Osaka is my hometown. I especially extend a welcome to everyone associated with the race to the city where the World Expo 2025 will be held. Thank you very much. Please enjoy this evening. Thank you.
Sandringham Yacht Club has been the host club for the 8 previous Melbourne to Osaka Double Handed Yacht Races and will be the host for the 2025 race. We would like, especially for our overseas entrants, to show you just what Sandringham is all about.
Welcome to the beautiful Sandringham Yacht Club. Situated 16 kilometres southeast of Melbourne in Sandringham Harbour, we love our little part of the world and we take great delight in looking after everyone who enters our club. With a members' first focus, we take immense pride in delivering our famous Sandy hospitality. So when you enter our doors, you experience a welcoming culture where our members' needs come first and where above all else, it's great to belong. SYC has so much on offer. Keelboat sailing and racing, recreational boating, off-the-beach sailing, our world-class marina, and our well-serviced boatyard, and our busy food and beverage outlets. But it's the people that matter most here at SYC. And we like to think that our members enjoy a home away from home, where they can mix with fellow members, enjoying wonderful hospitality in great facilities, and above all, simply having fun at SYC. So come join the crew and see what all the fuss is about. If you don't know where to start, you can give us a call on 9599 0999 and we'll invite you down, walk you around, and you can see for yourself what's on offer. We can't wait to see you at Sandy.
Good evening, everyone. Richard Hewitt's my name. I'm the CEO of the Sandringham Yacht Club, and it's our absolute privilege to have you all here tonight and to be addressing all of the competitors via the video. We very much look forward to being the host club for the 2025 Melbourne to Osaka. And as per the video that you've just seen, I suspect many of you are already familiar with the club, but we have extensive yacht club facilities to be the host. So we have a sizable marina, clubhouse, we have a boatyard with a bunch of tenants that can assist service the boats, etc. And we've got pretty extensive hospitality facilities. So if we can house the boats and provide food and beverage to the competitors, then I think we're well placed. In terms of the club nowadays, I know a lot of the competitors will have been here before, but we have around 3,000 annual members now, and we have quite a few people in our introductory sail pass scheme. We continue to race 4 days a week, and the club is vibrant and healthy in that regard. The Osaka race means a great deal to this club. We've been involved from the get-go, and our Rear Commodore Kath Fury will talk about the Sandy hospitality that the competitors can expect as part of the host club arrangements. In terms of the boating services that we can provide to the competitors, I just need George to tell me how many boats are coming and when they're coming. But I'm having some sleepless nights because he's telling me the expressions of interest are nearly the size of our marina. So, but it's our intention to try and accommodate all of the international and interstate competitors. So we would encourage you to enter as soon as you can. And once George and the team have their bearings on those numbers, then we'll know exactly what we can do. But rest assured, we will house as many of you on site as possible. We also have an on-site boatyard, so if you need to do some last-minute tinkering whilst you're here, whether it's in the water or there's a need to bring the boat into the yard, please talk to us as early as you can, because our marina's full and our boatyard is full. But we will do everything we can to make sure your preparations go well. We also have a room downstairs at the club that we will convert for the 1 to 2 months prior into the regatta or the event office. And so that'll be a dedicated competitor space. Again, it's just part of the overall, host club arrangements. So that's enough for me. We really look forward to seeing you all in early 2025. Thank you.
Hello everyone, it's my very great privilege to be the Rear Commodore at Sandringham Yacht Club and also a very proud past competitor in the Melbourne to Osaka race a lifetime ago, back in 1995, and in fact that's the first, that was my first introduction to Sandringham Yacht Club, was as a member of another club on the bay, coming to Sandringham as a competitor and experiencing the amazing hospitality which hasn't changed in nearly 30 years. When we welcome our competitors to Sandringham at the start of the Osaka race, we will provide honorary membership to all competitors and their families for the 4 weeks prior to the race, and that will include full access to the club, a key, access to all of our facilities, opportunities to experience the very warm hospitality that our club is famous for, and the use of all our facilities. We'll also arrange for every interstate and overseas member to be hosted by a Sandringham member or group of members to ensure that you have that full experience of Sandringham hospitality while you're here, both on the water. As Richard said earlier, we race 4 days a week here, so lots of opportunity for some more casual sailing before you head off on the great race, but also on shore in our social events. Including our fantastic hospitality offerings. Of note, our function manager and hospitality manager actually has worked in Japan for a number of years, and in fact is heading off to Osaka in a couple of weeks for a visit. So lots of opportunity for social and on-water engagement. So we're very much looking forward to welcome you all, and I particularly am very excited about being part of this race once again. Thank you.
I'm very pleased to introduce the President of Australian Sailing, Alistair Murray.
Hi everybody, my name is Alistair Murray and I'm the President of Australian Sailing, the peak body for running the sport of sailing in Australia. I've been aware of, and in awe of actually, the famous Melbourne to Osaka yacht race since its inception in 1987. I remember those intrepid fellows, and well, mainly guys back then, doing that incredible race. And here we are about to do it again. It's been run successfully 8 times between the sister cities of Melbourne and Osaka, and it's slated again for March 2025, and we couldn't be more excited about it or more supportive of this great event. It's a unique and challenging race, as it's only 2 people per boat, and it covers the enormous distance of 5,500 miles. It is listed on World Sailing's major oceanic events calendar, the only Australian event to be on that. I understand there's been an unprecedented level of interest in the next race from over 150 people, which is tremendous. I wish all competitors fair winds and great sailing, and wish all the very best to the organisers, Sandringham Yacht Club, Ocean Racing Club of Victoria and Osaka Hokko Yacht Club for a safe and successful event. Most importantly, to the competitors, have a great race, sail hard and stay safe. Best wishes to all from Australian Sailing.
Hi everyone, I'm Robin Brooke and a past competitor of this great race, as Kath called it. It is a great race, and when George and I did the race in 2003, there was very little training, very little pre-race knowledge or preparation or mentoring. And when we came back, we decided together to put something together to see if we can make it a better race. And that's enough. Better. So I'm here to introduce Paul Roberts. Paul Roberts is the Rear Commodore of the Ocean Racing Club of Victoria. The Ocean Racing Club has a big part to play has in the history of the race, had a big part to play in managing the on-water event. And Paul is a past competitor from 2003 and 2018. Would you like to tell us a little bit about how the Ocean Racing Club is involved in the event?
Sure. Look, the Ocean Racing Club of Victoria obviously provides the race management side of the race, and one of the other areas is the incident management team, and more importantly, a very high emphasis on the training part of this race. So one of the very important aspects of the training is the safety sea survival courses. So the ORCV be running various courses for the lead up to the Osaka race, and so for all the participants who need to have that qualification, we're very happy to accommodate that training.
The training program for the Ocean Racing Club actually, during COVID, they established an online and worldwide training program, and enough to have the Ocean Racing Club nominated and presented as Club of the Year in Australia.
That's correct. So we spent a lot of time during the COVID preparing all this online training material, and it's been very successful. So we have changed that training from a two-day event at the on-site to online for the first day, and then the second day being the practical part of the course in the life rafts and some other important topics that we deliver for the one day.
So will our participants be able to do that first part of the course from overseas?
Oh,
or from
absolutely,
interstate?
absolutely. Yeah, they'll be able to do that quite early, and then we will have. There's also a test that you have to complete, which is done online, and you have to pass that test, obviously. And then we go into the practical side, which is mainly the swimming pool with the life rafts on that second day.
And what was your takeaway from your experience of the race, Paul?
Look, we could be here all night talking about the experiences, but look, the main experience that I believe was perseverance, and it's a marathon. So the whole race is a marathon of yacht racing. That was the main, and it taught you to be patient. And I'm sure I came back as a better person after the 2 races that I've done.
We'll ask Gillian about that. Well, that was exactly pretty much word for word what Grant was saying, isn't it, earlier about it being don't expend all your energy in Bass Strait, because there's a lot more to come. Thanks, Paul. Really appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you.
Well done. I'd like to introduce to you Keiichiro Morimura.
Hello everyone. My name is Keiichiro Morimura, and I would like to say a few words as current Commodore of Osaka Hoko Yacht Club. We are extremely pleased that the notice of race for the 2025 Melbourne Osaka Double Handed Yacht Race has been officially released. This is the 3rd race since the planning and management was transferred from public organization to the private institution of ORCV, SYC, and OHYC. The actual management of the race requires a great deal of effort. And I believe that the creation of notice of race, which is the first step in the race management, requires an enormous amount of input from all parties involved at the ORCV and SYC. On behalf of all OHYC members, I would like to say thank you. Thank you very much. In April 2025, Osaka is about to host the World Expo. Many people from all over the world will visit Osaka. The finishing line of the race will be set right in front of the expo site, offering a unique opportunity and an exciting addition to the race finish. OHYC is always proud to host the race finish ceremonies and events. The involvement of our club in this race, which has a history of nearly 40 years, and the interaction and friendship with sailors from Australia and other countries that we have gained through the race is invaluable. We will do our best to honor the wonderful challengers who have crossed the oceans, and to give all sailors the incredible celebration at the end of the race. We are very looking forward to seeing you in Osaka. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kei-san. I'd like to introduce Paul Pascoe, who is the chairman of the jury for the Melbourne to Osaka 2025. Paul has been an official at 5 Olympic events,
Yep.
3 Melbourne to Osakas, 3 Melbourne to Vanuatu's, and a number of other events. When he's not officiating in world events on the water, he's running a farm, he's driving a truck, he's doing volunteer work delivering grain to flooded areas in New South Wales. What else do you do in your spare time, Paul?
Yeah, what spare time? Yeah.
So I'd like to ask you, what are the most common protest issues that people bring to the jury?
Yeah, for this event, it's quite different to normal events. That we have a bunch of things that happen beforehand, questions about notice of race, questions about measurement, sailing instructions, things like that. And of course, the old joke is how do you hide a secret? How do you keep a secret from a sailor? You put it in the sailing instructions. And it was so true. The last event, it's 2 days before the bulk of the fleet were about to leave, and obviously they started reading the notice of race and sailing instructions in detail, other than the equipment parts, and they all realised there was something in it they didn't like. So last time we actually changed the notice of race after the first couple of boats have started, which was bit different. After the race started, you change the rules. So, but everybody agreed on it, and that all happened. So the sort of pre-event documentation things. But I guess the main job that we do is during the event. It's a non-stop event, but clearly people have issues, and they have to stop. And it's our job then to decide what sort of penalty to apply. And what we do, and we'll do this time, is we'll publish a document saying these are the sort of things that we will consider. Did you fix it yourself? When did you leave the race? How far did you have to motor? When did you re-enter the race? So that's the toughest part. And we do it a little bit differently. That we have a questionnaire. If somebody has stopped, we send that to the competitors, and it is different. They're all on email all the time. They provide us with a whole lot of answers, and then the jury meets and we come up with what we think is a penalty. And in all protests, you have a 50% approval rating. So the person who gets the penalty, it's too harsh, way too harsh. And all the other competitors, not harsh enough. So it's always a 50% approval rating. And which is a little bit different because you don't have the face-to-face question and answer, what have you. And competitors always have the ability to request to reopen, and we could hear it at the end of the race. But so far we haven't had to do that. But what it means is that any penalties applied are all done before people get to the finish. So they know what their finishing position, plus or minus a few hours, is going to be when they get there. So that's the main thing that we sort of have to look at.
And how do you choose your jury?
Well, it's actually based on those sort of issues. So we'll have two. So myself, I'm an international judge in Australia, in Victoria, Melbourne, and we have another international judge from Sorrento Sailing Club, Ben Felds. He's very good at documentation and dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So that's really helpful in advance. The issues about when you leave the race and when you get back in, there's some arithmetic and navigational stuff to do. So we have an international judge from Malaysia, Leonard Chin, who's very good mathematician, very good with lats and longs and what have you, and so he helps us with those sort of issues. And then we'll have two judges from Japan. And I have a friend who will be in Japan, a judge who will be at some events in Japan in June, and hopefully they'll organise two jury members for us then. So that's how we do it. So 2 Japanese, 2 Australian, 1 Malaysian.
That's very, very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At the start of this evening, I did mention that we're going to have a couple of special guests, and I'd like to introduce you to Commodore Greg York, the Senior Naval Officer for Victoria. Good evening, Greg.
Good evening, George. Wonderful to be here for this special event.
I'd like to especially thank the Royal Australian Navy and the Armed Forces for the unwavering support they have given us in previous races, and hopefully they're going to give them in future races.
Yeah, well, that's definitely the plan. I know that we can't commit this far out to actual assets on site, but it's a high priority for Navy to be here to support this very special event. So I look forward to maybe not me being here, but there'll be some grey ships and lots of white uniforms around.
It's great. We've had an acknowledgement from the Chief of the Navy who said exactly what you were saying, that unless they're required elsewhere, we're going to join your party in 2025. And it's not just the Navy, it's the Air Force. The Roulettes provide air show for us at the start too, and we've had the Navy Band also entertaining us. But I showed you before, we've got a very special trophy here.
Yes.
Do you recognise any part of that trophy?
Yeah, well, I actually served on a sister ship to the HMAS Warrnambool, and we fired those 40 mil Bofors guns from the bow of that ship. Hopefully it wasn't a live one when they started the race with that shell, but might have caused a few holes in sails.
Yeah.
So this is a 40 mil Bofors shell. So on the end would be the round which actually gets fired out of the shell. But if they used it as a saluting or starting a race, it probably just had a cap and was a loud bang.
Yeah. Now, you told me something very interesting. This is quite a treasured possession because we're not allowed to give the metal away anymore, are we?
No, that's correct. No, we now have to return every piece of brass that's fired from a gun or a rifle. It has to be returned to stores, otherwise you get into trouble.
Okay, look, just remember, don't let the Commodore take it away with him tonight. But it's interesting, a Sandringham Club member was in the Navy in 1991, and he was the HMAS Warrnambool was under the command of Lieutenant Commander Robert Ware,
right.
A Sandringham Yacht Club member.
There you go.
Now, thanks very much for joining us tonight. We did have another little matter I wanted to mention, and it's going to follow on with our next guest tonight.
Yes.
But we have arranged for the Chief of the Navy to invite the US Navy in to celebrate. And we're going to talk more about that with our next guest, who is the President of the Australian American Association. Sam, would you come and join us? So welcome. This is Sam Muscat, who is the President of the Australian American Association. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you so much, George, for having me here. And I've learnt a fair bit already tonight. Wow, the wow factor comes into play. This is amazing.
Okay. So why have we got an American here for a Melbourne to Osaka yacht race? We have lots of reasons. When you look at the route that the boats are going to take from Melbourne to Osaka, what are the international waters we go through? We go through the Australian waters, the New Guinea waters, the Federated States of Micronesia, and what comes next? I was going to say the Marianas.
Marianas, yes.
And then the Ogasawa group, which is part of Japan. So we're going to be going through US waters. But especially I asked Sam along tonight because we want to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the biggest naval force ever to visit Australia. So our Chief of Navy has asked the US Navy whether they will visit us in 2025. And we've had on display this wonderful photo of the 1925 visit when 43 ships from the US Pacific Fleet visited Melbourne. It took them 2 hours to come through the heads at 3-minute intervals. And I think that's worthy a celebration.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, our Prime Minister was Melbourne Stanley Bruce in 1925. The President of the US was President Coolidge.
Correct.
Just as a aside, do you know...
I thought you were going to start testing me then.
Well,
I thought, what the hell? My history.
Here's a test for Sam, and I defy anyone to know the answer here. Why is President Coolidge different to every other president of the United States?
Why?
He was born on the 4th of July.
Thank you. Very good. You've done your homework,
I've
George.
done my homework.
I'm impressed.
But another American matter I'd like to mention to you, the biggest grossing movie in the last 12 months was?
Top Gun.
Top Gun. And it's got a very, very special 6-minute interval promoting double-handed yacht racing.
Absolutely, it does.
On San Francisco Bay.
Correct.
Tom Cruise and Jennifer Connelly were the two actors. Jennifer was the Navy officer, Tom was the pilot, and he's teaching her to sail on San Francisco Bay. And the absolutely best liner in the whole movie is when he says, "What's this funny looking coloured spinnaker thing?" And she says, "It's the afterburner."
May I just say this, because I think it's very vital. That's a fair bit of history, but what's really important is what that is significant for. It's actually very significant in the sense of our partnership with the United States. And if it wasn't for the United States, we probably would be a different country altogether. So what took place in 1925, and my good friend Greg reminded me that this is the Great White Fleet, that's actually the second Great White Fleet. The first Great White Fleet was in 1908. But again, the importance of this is about that partnership that we have with the United States. So thank you so much for having me here. And I'm glad that you didn't grill me, because I was a bit concerned about that, but thank you so much.
All right, thanks very much, Sam. To conclude the evening, I'd like to give 2 invitations to you. The first is to watch the website and the Facebook site, because we're going to have a sale online where you can practice your race to Japan using your own boat polars and in real race conditions. So on the 1st of April, there's going to be a sale online entry for you, and you can put your own boat in a race in 2023, again in 2024, to make sure you understand the weather conditions for 2025. And finally, an invitation 1 year today, on the 17th of March next year, which is St. Patrick's Day, and it's a Sunday, for all the entrants who are going to be doing the race. We're going to have a barbecue here at Sandringham. So we'll get to know you before the race starts and to be able to help you with any of your entry arrangements. So thank you everyone for attending this evening, listening to this evening and seeing this evening, and we'll see you again at Sandringham soon.